So the other day, this is what inspired this video, right? The other day, I'm at the gym and I started talking to somebody that I ran into, and it turned out she is in the IT field. And, we got to talking back and forth, and the subject of discussion went towards how differently IT people not only communicate, but kind of view the world and view things in general compared to maybe somebody in a field where I consider myself, which is more on the design and art. I'm in marketing, obviously, but I am a branding expert, so I'm a little bit more on the creative side of things. And we got to talking about how differently we see things and how a big part of my job as a marketer is connecting a highly technical IT person's thoughts and ideas with a consumer who's probably far on the other side of that spectrum. Uh, and it got me thinking that, despite the fact that there are huge differences in communication styles and things like that, there is a major similarity that I want to point out here, and it's gonna illustrate something very important that you need to know about how you market your business. So to get started, I put together one of my scrolling infographics because my brain doesn't work in slides. So I don't like slideshows. I like making these flowing documents that we can go through on a video. So right here at the top, I started by pointing out something that you've probably heard a million times. MSPs and consumers don't often speak the same language. It comes up in marketing discussions. Everybody thinks this is like some kind of a prophetic revelation to say that you need to speak the consumer's language with your marketing. Really, it's pretty straightforward, pretty obvious stuff. Now, what they don't say is more important, that it isn't a matter of language or knowledge, that the reason the communication is different is not necessarily because they don't know what you're talking about or there's a knowledge gap in terms of technology that you're trying to bridge. That's not the problem. What it is it's a matter of brain wiring. That's what you need to think about, is that a lot of times the people you're trying to communicate with, they don't even view the world in the same way that you do. There's fundamental differences perhaps in the way that you think as a highly technical person versus a consumer that is not. Concrete versus abstract thinking, rational versus emotional thinking, actual versus conceptual, and structured versus open, left brain versus right brain. I mean, you've heard this stuff before. I'm not making it up. And the difference is very obvious. All you have to do is look at this. When you see an IT person start to dip into marketing, when they start trying to be a marketer, we've seen it a million times. I see it all the time. They tend to focus on things like website metrics and the mathematical aspects of design. They focus on the same sorts of things that they're used to, technical things, structured things, because that's what their brain is wired to recognize and understand. That's how they see the world. Now, that can be a problem when you're talking about marketing, because marketing has a creative aspect. It has a human side to it that is important, very important, more important than the mathematical side of it. And so that's why you see a lot of these IT people turned marketing people that are always hung up on the same little mathematical details, and they don't seem to get marketing. A lot of times it has to do with that way that their brain functions. And I've said this many times before, and I stand by it because I am a student of behavioral science. This is what I do. A lot of times you're going to find that the type of person who has the mind, that mindset that they're able to go into something like IT or coding or programming, that's their type of thought. That's how they view the world. That's how they experience life. That same type of mind, and it's very hardwired, is not the type of mind that you want tackling something like branding or graphic design or messaging or copywriting, because those are two very different subsets of reality that you're dealing with. And that's why IT people have such a hard time with marketing sometimes, because it's not, your brain isn't wired to be the best at handling it. Just like my brain is not wired to be the best at math or running networks and things like that. That is not my profession, because that's not the way that my mind works. IT people, a lot of times, the best marketing trick that they can learn, the best marketing hack that you can teach somebody that's very technical, is step back and let a person whose mind is wired for that sort of thing handle the marketing. All right, moving along. If you look at these concrete, rational, actual, structured ways of thinking, there is something that manifests that's very much rigid and structured. coding. You're probably very familiar with it. I mean, you might be writing Python scripts for servers, or you might be doing C++ in your spare time, or you code software, or maybe even the farthest I ever got with that stuff is web design. HTML, it's a markup language, not even technically coding. I know a little bit of JavaScript. My brain does not grasp that as well as somebody who is hardwired to handle scripts and all of these, the way that, the structured way that programming and coding works. You know, there's people that are far better adept at that than I am. But there's good news that comes out of why I'm talking about coding. People can be programmed very much like computers. And this, after that conversation I had last week, this is the revelation that popped into my brain that I couldn't believe it took me this long to put two and two together. In the early 2000s, when I first started getting into marketing, and I was already in sales, I had been in sales for years, but I had developed a very strong interest in marketing. There were a couple of things that led me in that direction. The behavioral sciences is what mainly led me into marketing. And there were two disciplines that I discovered and started studying and just reading about, learning about, that really drove me in that direction. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. These are two, one is considered a pseudoscience at this point, neuro-linguistic programming. You won't hear very many people say that it's 100% science, that it's the greatest thing in the world, but it was so interesting when I was learning about it. It drove me to learn more about psychology and behavior and to study these things, and then realize that it could be applied to marketing and all of these things. That's where my passion for marketing came from, is from the science. NLP is basically, it was created by it was like a self-help guy and a couple of psychologists, and I think there was a computer programmer involved in there somewhere. The original guys were Bindler and Grinder, I think were their names. But they were trying to turn human behavior into code that you could build predictive models, that you could understand behavior and decisions and why is a person like this. And a big part of their research was trying to figure out something they called modeling, where basically they were saying, if you can break down a successful person's behavior into steps and code, and then replicate that code in another person, you could also replicate their success. That's the part that people consider to be kind of like pseudoscience, because it's been tried, it's been done. A lot of self-help is based off of modeling. I mean, that's why you always see these articles that are like, oh, the 10 sleeping habits of the most wealthy people in the world. That's playing off the idea that if you do the same stuff, you're going to be just as successful. Obviously, that's not true. You know better than that. If you start sleeping the same way as a billionaire, you're not going to suddenly be a billionaire. That's just, it's complete baloney. I mean, everybody knows it. But there are aspects of NLP that are absolutely useful in understanding human behavior. And I put this quote here: brains aren't designed to get results, they go in directions. If you know how the brain works, you can set your own directions. If you don't, then somebody else will. If you study this stuff at all, that may make you think of Psycho-Cybernetics, which is Maxwell Maltz's book. Very interesting book that talks about subconscious programming, decision making, achievement of goals, attainment of goals, things like that. Awesome book. Another one I read early on in my pursuit of behavioral science. Then you get into CBT, more respected field of psychology. In fact, most therapy nowadays that I know of is, most people are using cognitive behavioral therapy because it is a action-oriented way to address psychological issues. Usually in a matter of months, they can basically reprogram the way that you interface with the world so that things that previously were causing you problems don't cause problems anymore. That's kind of a really simplified way of boiling it down. This quote from Marcus Aurelius kind of sums up how that works. If you choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been harmed. And essentially, it's mind over matter. You know, something bothers me because I let it bother me. If I stop letting it bother me, I'm not bothered. I'm happy. That's kind of the really boiled down way of CBT. But it all comes down to this: behavior. It's all behavioral science. My background, why I'm in marketing. It's not math. It's not metrics. It's not this. It's human behavior. And it's all about free will and decision making. Behavior at the heart is always decision making, some way or the other. 80% of it might be subconscious, but there's programming that tells you how to make those decisions. So let me stop right here. I wanted to put this little note in. If you're getting bored at this point, if you're wondering what this has to do with growing your business, if you don't enjoy studying human behavior, you should not concern yourself with marketing. This is my heads up. If this kind of thing does not interest you, if you don't see how this has anything to do with marketing, you probably shouldn't be doing marketing. Plain and simple truth. This is marketing. Human behavior is the job. And we're going to get into now why people don't know that anymore, why that's so misunderstood. And I'm currently writing a book. I'm about halfway through it. I've been working on it for a couple of months now, based off of largely on my experiences in the IT channel over the last few years. And the working title of this book is Digital Marketing Sucks. And it's basically my appeal to the world to realize that digital marketing has put the entire industry of marketing on a bad path, and that people are losing money, people are wasting money. There's a lot of shysters out there. There's a lot of con men out there that are living off this idea of digital marketing. And this book explains in vivid detail what I mean by that. I'm going to explain it in a very summed up way right here, because this is going to tell you why human behavior is marketing and why you can't just not pursue that aspect of it, right? So real quick, digital marketing versus traditional marketing. I want to clarify up front, this is something I go into in the book quite a bit, but I want to clarify that digital marketing, it is really a thing. It's a strategy. It's kind of it's a way of doing marketing. It belongs under the umbrella of marketing. But one of the bigger problems is that it has supplanted marketing. That's where the issue comes in. People have started to think that digital marketing is marketing. It's all you need. It's all you got to do. That's all you got to know. I see these pop-up ads in LinkedIn and Instagram all the time that are like, oh, do this online course for 6 months, become a digital marketing master. I've been doing this for 20 years. I promise you in 6 months you will not be a master of marketing crap. Digital marketing has become the scam word of marketing, and I don't like it, and that's why I want to illuminate why it's selling people short, why it's costing people money, why it's not doing what you think it's supposed to do. So let's go read the book. Once it's done, I'll explain it in full detail, but right now we're going to do the crash course. So digital marketing is often it's often represented in funnels, right? Now, I don't care if you just heard about funnels, lead gen funnels, sales funnels, if you just heard about them last year, this year. They've been around for a long time. They're not a trick. They're not a hack. They're not a tactic. They are old. Digital marketing is funnels. There is no other way to successfully do any kind of digital marketing other than through the use of funnels. They are an innate form of what you're doing. Funnels aren't a strategy. Digital marketing is a funnel. It is expressed that way because that is how it works. So really the only hack you're getting by doing a funnel is that you're actually being told how to do digital marketing correctly. It's nothing more than that, right? So with digital marketing, the entire premise, the entire method, the mechanism of action is that you are trying to create a filtration system that gathers as many eyeballs as it can at the top through the awareness phase of marketing, and filters and qualifies them as they go down through this funnel. It's supposed to filter and get you, hopefully at the end of that funnel, a customer, a conversion, sales conversion. I mean, you're converting all the way through it, but you know what I mean. You're trying to get them to the end to where they sign a contract. Think about that. It is a slow, very luck-based in many cases filtration process. You have to cast a really, really wide net, and you play the numbers game, and you hope at the end of it that somebody buys something. You're being sold that as the premier way to market your business. That people are telling you that is the absolute best of the best way to get business is luck. Think about that for a minute and tell me that makes any sense anymore. Digital marketing is a funnel. It's a filter. You have to pour in massive amounts of numbers at the top, and hopefully through sheer luck, 90% of the time, you end up with a customer at the end. That is the first problem with digital marketing. And I want to tell you, it is borderline a scam. And I will tell you right here, and I'm just going to go through this real quick. This is an old scam. It's usually somebody pretends to be a financial analyst. They're going to tell you that, they know how to call the best stocks every single time. So they send out 32,000 letters. And they pick. This is also a big one with predicting the outcome of football games, right? So I send out 32,000 letters, and I say that in half of those letters, Team A is going to win. The other half, Team B is going to win. Okay, so obviously one of them wins. So now I take half of that list, the ones that I predicted correctly, and I send them letters. Half of them get Team A, half of them get Team B. Obviously, you're filtering down, and through sheer 50-50 luck, half of the people who get your letters every time think that you're guessing or predicting the right outcome. At the end of it, the scam is that you've done this 6 times, and now you've only got like 4,000 people at the end of this, but that's 4,000 people where every time you've sent them a letter, you've been correct because you're playing the odds. So now you send them, hey, that was all my freebies. Now I'm going to tell you the winner of the next one. Send me $500 though. I'm not doing it free anymore. So you get $500 from 4,000 people, and it was basically fraud. But what it's illustrating is that there's always enough right here. There's always enough random success to justify almost anything to someone who wants to believe. From looking at the numbers for years, from studying this for years, and from what I know about conventional marketing and what I was taught in school, every sign points to digital marketing being exactly this. It is luck. It is somebody lucking out and putting out a big enough net that maybe some people trickle down, you get some leads, and it makes it look like they're doing a really bang up job. But it's nothing more than a big old filter that they're dumping random people into and crossing their fingers. That is the nature of digital marketing. Now, based on that, I say that digital marketing is a fad. Oh my, I'm an iconoclast, right? Digital marketing is a fad. Why? In its current form, I say it's a fad. In the form where people are saying, oh, forget advertising, oh, forget branding, digital marketing rules everything, and that's all you need. That part's going away. Because here's the simple facts of it. That form of digital marketing where you eschew all other forms of marketing, where you don't care about branding, where you don't take these things seriously, where you just cast a wide net and play the numbers game, has severely diminishing returns. Not only will it only work it only works for a certain amount of time. You can only get so many mailing lists that you can cold email and hopefully push through that filter. There's always a limit to what you can get out of it. It's not viable in all stages of an industry's life cycle. The MSP space is starting to see that, because that funnel system, that digital marketing funnel system that works so well when you're just casting a wide net, worked great when you had no competitors. It worked great when all you had to do is make someone aware that you exist. It's terrible for actual marketing. And you're seeing that because all of these agencies and all of these people that are relying solely on that funnel to generate leads for you are failing because it doesn't work anymore. It ignores the fundamentals of marketing. I knew that digital marketing was not real. It was not a true thing that you should invest and follow. When I started to see digital marketers saying that you don't need branding, you just need good metrics, and you need to know the tweaks and the hacks, that is bullshit. Branding is the heart of marketing. Anybody who tells you that you do not need to brand and they can't explain to you exactly what that means and explain to you why it provides value is not a marketer. I'm sorry, but that is basic fundamental stuff. That's like going to an auto mechanic and him saying, you don't need to change the oil in your car. Hell, you don't even need to put oil in your car. You would immediately run the other direction because you know better. If you run into a marketer who says you don't need branding and can't explain what it is, run the other way because they don't know what they're talking about. So digital marketing is also not competitive because there's no leveraging of any kind of an advantage in digital marketing in that form. You build a funnel, your competitor builds a funnel. Now you both have funnels. Where's the leveraging? Where's the advantage? That's generally how it works. There's oversaturation. We hear all the time complaints. We were just on a call 5 minutes ago with a client, an MSP, who was just complaining to us that they get emails all the time from vendors who are trying to push them into a sales funnel. Hello vendors, hello MSPs, you're all doing it. You're trying to force people into one of these funnels with your spam emails and your nonsense content marketing, and there's a reason it isn't working. Oversaturation. We've seen it. We've lived it. We're done with it. Funnels are hitting the end of their lifespan. And digital marketing tends to fake a lot of things where you really need authenticity. You know, they talk about try to build trust, but it's an illusion of trust. They say try to pretend like you're a trusted advisor, but you're not. You're just pretending to be one. See, there's a shallowness to that idea that is it manifests in your relations with the market. People aren't really that stupid, you know. It's there's an obvious difference between a real trusted advisor and somebody who's saying they're one, and there's a real difference between somebody who's an expert in what they're talking about or they're just saying they're one. And digital marketing tends to try to push you towards faking your way into these things instead of actually building your brand around what you're good at. What are you actually good at? How about you become an expert in that? How about you legitimately pursue the idea of being an authority instead of pretending to be one? You know, this is that's where traditional marketing prevails, and it will every time, I promise you. I don't care if it's just because I'm classically trained and my education is in marketing. I didn't pick it up in the streets. But I will tell you that traditional marketing, the stuff that we're taught, the stuff that's been working for decades, it works because it works because it works. Branding is the programming language of consumer behavior. That's all there is to it. I've been studying this stuff for 20 years. I don't care anybody. I will argue with anyone this fact that branding is where the advantage comes from if you know what it is and you use it correctly, because that's where you're resonating with the consumer. You don't do this if you don't use traditional marketing, if you don't value the idea of building a brand, then all you're doing is playing this game. Let's throw some people in the top and hope they filter down to the bottom. And it is a huge waste of time. It's slow even if it works. And it's a waste of money most of the time. So traditional marketing, branding, advertising, market research, understanding the market, product development, carving out a real new place, blue ocean strategy, all of these traditional marketing methods, they're adaptive to the market. They're not stagnant. They allow you to react to what's going on in the market so that you can maintain an advantageous position. They're truly consumer centric, which you want to have, because that's how you have good retention. That's how you have a much easier time resonating with your audience, is to be built around the consumer. Digital marketing tends to kind of want to build your business around some hacks or some tricks that worked for maybe somebody who sold lipstick on Instagram, and now it's a great digital marketing method, and they try to build your marketing around the marketing. But you should be building your marketing around your brand, and you should be building your brand around authenticity. So, you know, when you do that, it creates defensible market share, because now you're not just sharing a bunch of clients interchangeably with other MSPs to where they can say, nah, I'm done with that one, I'm going to go to this one, and they won't even notice a difference because you're all so similar. No, you create defensible market share because the ones you've earned for a reason, and they're not going to leave. You've got improved retention in UX that way. It's easier for you to advertise, easier for you to do your actual marketing, because when you have a brand, it speaks for itself. It's active. The digital marketing, it may look like you're doing a lot because that's how they sell it to you. They come in and they say, man, we're going to start emailing. We're going to start doing social posts. We're going to start putting a blog post. It looks very action oriented, but it's still a passive funnel. It's not action based. There's no action here. The action is they're trying to lure people into the top of this funnel in hopes that they trickle down to the bottom. It's an illusion of action. Traditional marketing is actually action. It's active because it involves actively understanding the consumer, actively building your business around their needs, and then actively selling it to them. It's very, very aggressive, and it works much better because of the tailoring that you do in your branding. And it's faster to produce results in most cases because you spend that time to research the market, know what you're going after, and then actually go after it. Now, it's not always faster, but it's going to unfailingly be better than just casting a wide net and hoping that people trickle through the filter, without a doubt. Sometimes building a brand, understanding the market, developing products, pushing those products to the market, testing, the development, all of these things that actual marketing demands, it can take time. But here's the thing. You don't want to step over dollars to pick up pennies. And with digital marketing focus, that's what you end up doing. You're saying, no, I'm going to skip the important stuff and go to the fast stuff. And then the fast stuff doesn't work. So you're spending that money. It's a wasted investment, low ROI, and frustrating. Don't do that. Branding is the programming language of consumer behavior. It's how you're going to get your clients. So that is the point that I wanted to make in this video. Probably, as usual, ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but this is important stuff that we're talking about. If you are going to think about marketing moving forward, if you're planning on doing anything with marketing next year, if you want to ramp it up because you're trying to get new business, do not forget what I've taught you here. This is important. This is so important that you don't just jump on that digital marketing bandwagon and say, sure, start sending out emails, start sending out social posts, because they're going to look and sound like everybody else's, and it's going to do nothing to establish you as an authority or a brand. You need to start with the fundamentals every time, and it's going to get you there. Now, really good news, guess what? We launched at the end of this year, a couple weeks ago, we launched something called the MSP Growth Club, and it's free, including workshops that we do to help you do exactly what I'm talking about here. It's paid for by vendor sponsors, not you. So we are trying to disrupt the marketing space of the MSP in the channel by giving away the marketing that you really need, the stuff that we're talking about here, the next level stuff, the real marketing, not just the digital marketing that people are trying to sell you to make money, the real traditional stuff that I learned in college that I've been doing for 20 years. We will do workshops with you, no cost, because the awesome vendor sponsors that have stepped up to pay for this are making it all available to you for free. Everybody wins. You sell more, you grow your business, they get more, you sell more for them, the vendor's happy, we're happy, we get to do our jobs, you get your marketing for free. It's awesome. It's yoursalesenergy.com. Go sign up. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and we have videos out there just explaining what the club is, but I had to throw that in there in the end, and that's it. I will catch you next time.